magnesium, and inside of our cells, it's iron. Otherwise, it's identical. He gave me food enzymes because if our stomach isn't healed, we can't heal anything. And then he gave me what I love. I call it my patients call my abracadabras, but he gave me an essence, a flower essence of the flower impatience, because I was very impatient trying to get out of this wheelchair. And
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Trust Casting Podcast, where experts become authorities. I'm Zane Myers, your host. Today, I'm speaking with another remarkable guest who's built incredible trust with their clients. Let's dive right in. Hi, and welcome to another episode of The Holistic Entrepreneur. So we're happy to have Erica Zernzach. Tell me if I butchered that. Did I do it right?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, I bet a lot of people do butcher that. And she owns a clinic called A Right Path, and you're based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, right?
Correct. A Right Path Wellness in Milwaukee. Correct.
And so I was reading off your site, and I'll just say, we believe in healing. We believe true healing happens when all parts of you are seen, supported, and strengthened: body, mind, spirit, and soul. And you have a complete integrated wellness ecosystem where you can receive expert care, learn to heal yourself, and access powerful natural medicine all in one place. So
stop shop. That's what we try to do here. Make it okay. Healing's already hard enough. Why wouldn't we just make it easy, right?
So tell me about your clinic and just give me a thumbnail sketch, and then I'll go back and go wherever we go.
Sure. So kind of just what I was saying, I want to make healing as accessible and easy as possible. And so I kind of use my name in a creative way. So Erica Zernzach, easy. So easy method is the method that I have developed. And so I have a Right Path Wellness, but then I have other branches off of that. My Easy Method Academy, my Easy Method Apothecary, soon to be Easy Method Publishing. I have a nonprofit. And so I've tried to really create healing for everybody. And so I started on this journey. I was sick. And so as a last resort, I was sick my whole childhood. And so as a last resort, my mom took me to an herbalist, and he saved my life. And so at 15, I looked at my mom and I said, this is what I'm doing with my life. And so here I am.
Hang on. We got to go back because we can't just gloss over that. He saved my life. That we have to go back and examine that. So describe, what was going on. I mean, what happened and how did he save your life?
He actually, healing doesn't have to be complicated. Once again, let's make this easy. So he gave me 3 different things that got me out of a wheelchair, and I'll explain why I was in a wheelchair. But he gave me liquid chlorophyll, which is basically the same component as human blood, but inside of plants, that's magnesium, and inside of our cells, it's iron. Otherwise, it's identical. He gave me food enzymes because if our stomach isn't healed, we can't heal anything. And then he gave me what I love. I call it my patients call my abracadabras, but he gave me an essence, a flower essence of the flower impatience, because I was very impatient trying to get out of this wheelchair, and I felt it instantly. And that's really, in our American society, we really like instant things. And so I was like, ooh, this is good evidence. I feel really good. And so that's when I actually looked at my mom and said, this is what I'm going to do for my life. And she said, oh, geez, here we go. And then she drove me 45 minutes each way until I was 16 and could drive myself. And so here we are. So my pediatrician, his name's Dr. Swanson. He is amazing. He tested me for everything, and he believed in me so much. And I was so sick. Child Protective Services even came to my mom and was going to take me away because they're like, she looks fine. There's nothing wrong with her. They were telling my mom and my doctor, my pediatrician, that it was all in my head, but it wasn't. Fast forward all of that time till 2023, I actually found out that I was misdiagnosed not with fibromyalgia, and I actually had Lyme disease, multiple types of Lyme disease, and co-infections from it. And but my pediatrician, he tested me for Lyme disease, and that's the tricky part. These testers 60% the time wrong, and so Lyme disease
60%.
60%.
So if they give you a blood test and for Lyme disease,
yes,
they're more likely to be wrong than right.
yes,
Wow.
you'd be more efficient flipping a coin. And 1 out of 10 doctors, they say know what to do if you get bit, and long-term what to do. So that leaves a lot of our, I really believe, first of all, I want to start this conversation with, I have solutions. Second of all, the truth of the matter is this is a silent pandemic around the world, and it's not just Lyme disease, it's tick-borne and co-infections and vector-borne illnesses. And so this happens all around the world. And so people are getting treated for Alzheimer's and dementia and MS and Parkinson's and fibromyalgia and anxiety and digestion issues and ADHD and autism and ALS. It's Lyme disease. So this is a very...
So I want to go back before you go, because I want to kind of dig in. Because now I'm curious. So where are the studies that show about the testing of Lyme disease being ineffective? I play the part of cynic too, because I want, I mean, it's not that I'm questioning you, but I'm thinking, if I'm curious about it, then people who are watching are also going to be curious about the same subject.
I mean, that is one of the light in the darkness here. There are beautiful advocacy programs. I am one of the team leaders for the Center of Lyme Action for Wisconsin. And so they are a beautiful organization. We have the Lyme Warrior. We have Project Lyme. We have Live Lyme. We have so many beautiful, and too, now the CDC is understanding, so they're catching up with us. So, and, not to be, I don't want to be political, but even when President Trump was first in his presidency, he signed off $30 million. I say that now in my brain, and I say it out loud. I believe it was $30 million. He said, so people are understanding that this is a way bigger problem. And so I'm very hopeful that we're on the right track, on the right path, to really be getting people the medical care that they deserve. And that
so what's being done now to diagnose this more accurately? And do some doctors just not even test for Lyme disease?
I would say a big majority, a scary majority, it doesn't even cross their mind. And so I feel such passion, and I really want to be an advocate, because I don't want anyone to ever go through what I had to go through. I have suffered most of my life, and I turned my pain into purpose. So I'm okay with where I am. I just want to say that, in hindsight, I don't know other 15-year-olds that were doing college level courses on herbalism and muscle testing and vibrational medicine and getting the tools in order to walk people through this pandemic. And I have developed a revolutionary program. So I'm just really excited. There are, when I was diagnosed, what happened was I have a lot of intuitive friends. And so one of my dear friends, Shay, she's like, ever since I met you, Erica, I swear you have Lyme disease. And I'm like, my pediatrician tested me. And then I just was getting worse and worse and worse. And I felt a lot of shame and guilt around that, to be honest, because I was walking thousands of people out of all these complex things. And I kind of felt imposter syndrome. I was like, why can't I get myself out of this? And, but in hindsight, I actually was doing a beautiful job of keeping myself functioning. I still was working 80 hours a week. And not that that's good either. But I was still, able to get up and do these things. I did have to spend most of my day getting myself able to walk and function so I could meet patients. And what I would do too is I would block off my schedule a lot, just so if I had capacity, I'd open it up, because I don't want to ever cancel on people or things like that. So but there are a lot of doctors that are, I think because the awareness and the advocacy is so strong, that more doctors are becoming aware of this.
So tell me, so how long ago do you feel like you got a handle on, well, first realizing that you actually had Lyme disease and then figuring out what to do?
Yes. So I once, once I wasn't getting better, my doctors were retiring. My doctor and my nurse practitioner were shifting. And so I needed new doctors. And so I went to the doctor and I specifically said, I need Lyme panels, mold toxicity panels, hormonal panels, and a GI map. And they said, okay. And
so these are not the kind of things most patients ask for.
No, I was definitely advocating for myself. And I purposely chose a clinic here in Milwaukee, the Shalom Healing Center, because Dr. Robert Fox that owns that, he's an acupuncturist. He's got an herbal apothecary in the basement. So they're open more into the holistic health. And so his nurse practitioner, she, in April 2023, sure enough, and I had over 22 different infections in my body. And this isn't just a little place in your little body. It's not like it's in your elbow. It's everywhere. It was in my brain, in my eyes, in my blood, it's in my bones, it was, but now I fast forward to 2025, all my labs are clear. So we'll
talk about that because, when I think of Lyme disease, I just only know just a little bit about it. But basically, when I read about it, they say, well, once you have it, you can never be cured of it. You just have to learn to, deal with the symptoms.
I think it's all about perspective. When my doctors told me I was cleared, and I've had several doctors tell me that. So I understand that there are a lot of different levels, and that's what makes my recovery program so revolutionary. It's not just clearing the infections. It's how do we prevent them? How do we, how can we hit this at all layers so it is really making this a permanent shift? Because a lot of times physical illnesses aren't just physical illnesses. They're emotional, they're physical, they're traumas that we haven't processed, they're genetics. But the thing about genetics is now we're learning about epigenetics. And so it's really, but a huge part of this is mindset. I am a very stubborn person. And so I was always going to get through this. Like there was no other way. And I knew that I was going to be able to turn my pain into purpose. And I knew that I was going to help people walk through whatever this was. So, yeah.
So describe to me your protocol. So I come in and I think I may have Lyme disease. How would you diagnose that? And then let's talk about what you do.
Well, I always make sure I stay in my scope of practice. And but what's really neat about my scope of practice and what I have access to now, I can run Lyme labs. So I'm very excited about that because that was a huge bottleneck for a long time, finding doctors that would actually say yes and do it. And two, insurance doesn't always cover it. So that's kind of a bottleneck too, but we work around that. Second of all,
how much do Lyme labs generally cost?
Well, it depends on your insurance. And it depends on what we're all running. There are, how about I make myself a note and I can provide the audience with that. I just don't want to say out of, I just don't want to get numbers back.
If you're feeling sick all the time and you don't know exactly what's going on, I know people get hung up on their insurance. But if you're always sick and then you say, I need to figure out whatever is, if I spend, several $100s or hundreds of dollars or even $1,000 or $2,000, and I can actually figure out what it is that's going on, it's a very small amount of money to, if you're able to, because then the next step we're going to talk about what you do for somebody who has, so from that perspective, whatever investment that they're making, whether the insurance covers it or not, it seems like, but I know people do get hung up on insurance. So how do you help people through that emotionally?
It is, I think, one of the biggest bottlenecks of these complex cases that come along with Lyme disease is, I used to joke around that I was going to name my clinic The Last Resort, because honestly, a lot of times it is. And the thing is, by the time they come see me, they have already spent all of their 401k, all of their money. They've asked all of their friends and family to help them. Some people have done Kickstarters, or funds, like the GoFundMe's, so it does. It robs you of everything: your vitality, your life, your finances, your relationships. It's a big thing. So if I could get in front of people and tell them that, hey, please let me help you, and before you do all this, that would be great. So hopefully this message gets through to people. However, that's why I've really worked very hard on figuring out different ways that I can fund things. I believe in energy exchanges. I've learned very much in my career of my 29 years, when I give away things for free, people don't use them and they don't value them. And I've given beautiful, valuable content for free. People just don't. There has to be some skin in the game. So, but with that also being said, I do have an opportunity for people to give donations, to be sponsors, to help. I call it my Healing with Heart program. So people can give this donations and help people. But then I might ask that person that's getting the treatments, like, what can you do for the community? Like, maybe it's that they smile at somebody, or, like, these energy exchanges don't have to be huge, but it has to be something in order for these shifts to happen, I believe. So with that being said, sometimes, so when I do the full medical intake, I can get a bigger picture of understanding of what we need to do. Some of the treatments, like, let's say I decide to do homeopathic remedies. Homeopathic remedies are so powerful. They turn on all of our beautiful wisdom in our body. And some of those little homeopathics are $12. So, and then if we find a formula that works, then we get blank pellets and replicate them. So you could have a lifetime of supply of homeopathic remedies for $50, so there are, and two basic things that we all need to do. It's very interesting. When I ask people throughout the day, I'm like, when's the last time you went to the bathroom? Or what did you eat? Or how did you sleep? Or they're so disconnected. So for me, even getting them, just making sure that they're getting enough protein, that they're walking, moving their bodies, that they're drinking water, managing their stress in a more appropriate way. Those are things that we all have to do.
So let's say you figured out, okay, you do have Lyme disease. Then where do we go from there?
So I customize it. I do a lot of virtual sessions, just because, like I said, this is a pandemic everywhere. So I do coaching with that, and sometimes just getting them in their mindset and just using, I call them my toolbox of success. I help them make it, because I can't always be with people every 24/7, So, how can we create stations of success? Like, you brush your teeth every morning. Can we have your herbs right next to where you brush your teeth? Can we create these beautiful habits? So for the virtual people, then, I'm doing herbs, nutrition, lifestyle, energy work, distance energy work, those types of things. For people that come in here, I'm generally doing acupuncture, body work. I also do the other things that I mentioned, the nutrition and the herbs and the energy work and the lifestyle coaching as well. So it's really well-rounded. It just is kind of delivered a little bit different.
So describe to me what energy work is.
So the simplest way I can say that is it's just helping the body become aligned and balanced. And so with the energy work that I do, I am a Reiki master teacher. So with that, what that means is I'm able to do Reiki at any time, any place, at anywhere. And that's why I'm able to do these virtual sessions. It was a very, one thing out of the pandemic was, even though I'm an essential care worker, my 2 male practice insurances weren't sure what was happening. So they didn't really want me to work. But what I could lean into was my Reiki, because I can do it distant. And two, it was hard to get gloves and needles and alcohol and like cotton balls, all the supplies I need to run the acupuncture clinic. So I was able to really build that muscle and hold containers for groups. And I was just getting really beautiful feedback that they were feeling the things that I was doing. So, and it was helping them kind of get through their weeks through the pandemic. And then
describe to me what Reiki is.
So Reiki is what it means is a universal life force. So basically it's balancing that energy. We all have the ability to do Reiki. We just forget. And a lot of things that I do in my life is I'm just gently reminding people that things about what we already know. So let's say you're babysitting and someone falls off their bike, and most people would just run up to the kid and like kind of like see what's happening, you know, like make sure, and maybe even like kind of put their hand not over the wound, but like kind of around it. Those are our natural abilities. We all have the ability to facilitate this healing within ourselves and others. And even we can put Reiki into our vitamins and our food and our water. There's even scientific studies about that. Actually, there's a Japanese doctor that's, you know, he said every single word that you can think of, but love, he would just say love into water, and then hate. And then he would take he would look at it under a microscope and you could see the different molecules. And so vibration is everything. Energy is everything. Your energy, I'm energy, this computer, that's the internet that's making this beautiful documentation for the world. You know, that is energy too. The way that this is making people feel, that's energy. And we can't deny that. And the more that we can learn it and leverage it, we're going to be unstoppable.
So tell me about when you were having this issue with Lyme disease. What were the steps that you went through to get an effect? I mean, you seem like a really energetic person, and you're obviously really passionate, which is great. That really comes through.
Yeah.
And, but tell me, you know, over what time period did that happen, and what exactly happened?
Well, I kind of went through the ringer, to be honest. I'm not, you know, there were major times of darkness in my life. You know, when you are in debilitating pain and the doctors are telling you it's all in your head. When I was 8 years old, I did try to kill myself. I just was ready to get out of this. And I just was really grateful for the people that believed in me, that knew that wasn't in my head, and that they knew that there was something physically wrong. But, you know, when it affects all of your body, it's very tricky. So, I mean, I did, you know, counseling, I did nutrition, I did biofeedback, I did hypnosis. I mean, my pediatrician was having me do this stuff. I mean, I've been doing this stuff for a very long time. You know,
so what was it that went from wheelchair to walking around, or from, you know, having no energy to having a lot of energy? And you seem like a very energetic person. What would you say that, I mean, there may not have been one thing, but what combination of things?
The biggest things that, you know, after I got my diagnosis in 2023, I was grateful because I already had walked many people through this. So I knew exactly where to start. The biggest thing that I needed to do was get out of my toxic mold house. So I had microbiologists come, environmental microbiologists, the environmental initiatives of North America come. They're amazing. And they are all over the United States, but primarily they're in Wisconsin. But so Cassidy came, tested my house. He's like, okay, Erica, this is what you got to do. I gathered the facts, because if you have toxic mold, none of this works because it's stuck. It gets everything stuck. So once I got out of that, which was last July, then things really started going fast forward. So nutrition, mindset, movement, energy work, herbs, shamanic energy healing, Reiki energy healing. And then I also did a technique called Lyme Stop. Now, the man that developed Lyme Stop, his name is Dr. Anthony Smith, and he's in Idaho, and he is a fabulous man. I just love him. But he has trained only one other man, and his name is Dr. Ben, and he's in Onalaska, Wisconsin. Dr. Ben has a brother named Dr. Joe, but he doesn't do the full Lyme Stop. And there's other people that are trained, including me. In April, I went to Washington to get the beginning of the Lyme Stop training. I should say I got the CBT training, the craniobiotic technique training, and I'm hopeful that I will be able to get the Lyme Stop training. Because I think it's just, like I said, we're in a silent pandemic and it's such a gift to the world. They're saying that it's 80% success rate just with those 4 initial treatments.
And the 4 initial treatments are, I'm trying to get to that somebody can understand how.
Yep. So what they're doing is they're finding specific points on the body that correlate with different infections, and they're clearing them using energy work and magnets. And they use a technique called applied kinesiology or muscle testing, which I've been doing since I was 15. So we use that to figure out where there's imbalances in the body, and then we correct it and clear it.
And so describe that. So I strangely enough, I work with a woman who's an MD. She was she went to school in the UK and got her MD there, and then she went to Stanford and got an advanced degree there, and then she went to to Minneapolis to the Mayo Clinic, and she worked there and got her rheumatology specialty, and then she went on and got a degree in physics from. So she's really super bright, and she is actually a medical doctor in rheumatology, but she's very into holistic health, and discusses over the magnetic fields in the body. So
Yes.
You might even want to look her up, Shamanic, Manek.
Hey, I love it.
So she's written at least one book anyway that I know of, but she does talk about the body being magnetic and different philosophies around that. So I know that there's some science here. So go ahead. I interrupted you just because it kind of got my brain going.
I mean, I know I have a lot to say, and I think what's so interesting in hindsight is I've been divinely guided for every class, everything that I've learned into this very moment. And so we have energetic highways in our bodies called meridians or channels. So each of them is paired or married, they say, so they can work together and really make our bodies be balanced. So for instance, your gallbladder channel starts here, goes all the way down to your little toe, and then your big toe is your liver, and it goes up. And they're on both sides. So that's, we're balancing that energy. And then we have the energy of our chakras. And then we have, I call them solar systems all around our bodies. We have hundreds and hundreds of points in our ears and our hands and our feet. And so the more that we can really be keeping all of that in balance. And then we have to really think about, too, the environmental toxins in our world. We have never had these solar flares ever in existence. We've never had these toxic burdens, especially the electromagnetic things from the Wi-Fi, the 5G, all of our internet, all of our stuff running all of the time. Our cells and our bodies are picking up that energy, and that's really creating issues, especially in people with complex cases and mold. It actually magnifies and makes the mold get worse in our colonizations in our bodies. So really looking at things at all places and all the levels and all the angles is really how we get back into balance and alignment for complete health and for our highest potential, just to live the most happy life.
So I'm going to shift gears completely.
Please.
And I'm going to talk about this is the holistic entrepreneur. So we talk a little bit about the business of running alternative healthcare too, or any kind of healthcare, or any kind of the business side of running a professional practice of any type. You probably always thought of as a healer, but there's really the business side of things. How do you get new customers, and how do you keep customers, and how do you, there are patients, but they're also customers. Yeah. And that's a completely different hat than the actual healthcare part of it. So how do you deal with it? How do you get and keep new patients?
You give them value and you deliver that value, and too, I don't know, like I said, I really resisted having a specialty for a very long time, and here I am. But I think when you become an expert at something, and you have something so valuable to offer the world, it just flows. But the thing is, it doesn't matter if you're working on your health or your wealth or anything in between. The magic formula is 80% frequency, 20% strategy. And so if you can learn to leverage your energy and keep your frequency high, people will be attracted to you like magnets.
So do you do any sort of advertising, or do you do everything word of mouth?
Mostly word of mouth. I do social media, but more of that I do I just am a real big nerd, and I love this stuff so much. And I just, I want people to believe people are awakening and understanding, and they want to be better, and they want to be living at their highest potential, but they just don't know where to start. So if I can give them little breadcrumbs of goodness on the socials, why not? And so, but I am up to 3.5 million people looking at my stuff on social. So I feel like that is beneficial as well. So I think, we have to just have...
That's quite a following. That's really...
We just have to have the courage to show up and to be authentic and vulnerable. We're all just, I believe that we come into this human experience to be separated so we can learn what we need to do in order to come back to this unity. And the more that I can just tell people about how I felt when I felt so separated, especially so many people with this Lyme, they feel so isolated and so abandoned and so isolated. If I can just show them that there is a way, there is a path, and we're going to make this path for you, because there's not just one way. I think that just helps. It gives people a permission slip just to be themselves and heal.
So where do you post most of your material? What platforms?
I really try to do them all. I'm not the best at YouTube yet, or TikTok. I mean, I try to do once a week, but Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Google Business, I really do try to do them all weekly for sure, if not daily.
What kinds of content do you post?
All sorts of different stuff. I post,
Hang on just 1 second. Now, where were we?
Sure.
Hassan, you're going to have to edit this out. So I was asking you about your socials.
Yes. So I'm on all of them. And basically what I'm posting, kind of what, as I'm meditating throughout the day and getting inspiration, I think, well, maybe this will inspire someone else too. So sometimes, if I'm promoting I have a Limelight support group that's coming up on July 9th. If things like that I'm promoting, then yes, I'll put those on there too. But sometimes it'll just be like, this is something that inspired me. Maybe it'll inspire you too.
So do you make videos, or do you just post written content, or you do a little both?
Both. And I am I am starting a podcast soon, so I'll have that, and I am working on getting better at YouTube and doing that as well. So I'm going to be on all of them. And then also I'm going to be
very enthusiastic, and It really does come across. You seem like a delightful person.
Thank you. So do you.
Oh, thanks. So I think that about does it. I think we covered the gamut. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I love this stuff. And if you ever have a specific topic that you want me to deep dive in, I love to teach. So I can whip up a master class for your audience. I'd love to.
Okay, great. Thanks. Thanks again for joining us on the Trustcasting podcast. If you want to become the trusted authority in your market, you know what to do. Subscribe below to this channel and apply to be our next guest at trustcastingpodcast.com. We'll see you next time.